Welcome to Beyond Words Presents. My name is Whitney Diffenderfer, and I'm here with Scott Linde, founder and owner of Sun Potion. They produce all sorts of superfoods and supplements that you can add to live a longer, healthier, happier life. And Scott is going to be sharing with us some of those products, what they are, how you use them, and also just his philosophy around how he even started his business. It's an amazing story. So Scott, thank you so much for being here with us.
Oh, Whitney, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate the access and the excitement around our talk leading into the interview here today, and let's go for it. Thank you.
Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun. So everybody who's here, thank you for being here. And also remember that if you want to participate in the conversation, you can use the Google Hangouts app, and you can also submit things via the hashtag BWPresents. And please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. There it is. So Scott, one of the questions that I had is why herbs, why supplements? What is it that got you excited about these?
Well, really what we're offering here is a lot of different single ingredient herb extracts. So these are plants that have over time, over history, really been highly supportive to humans. And so plant biology, human biology, has had a long history of collaboration and support for one another over eons of time and multitude of different lineages from around the world. So what we're doing at Sun Potion is really bringing forward a number of the different kind of key herbs from different histories or timelines, and making them available for people at their local grocery store and at their service on the website and these kinds of things. And the basic theme here is that these are plants that are powders that you can really easily add to like your morning tea or even just water, smoothies, that kind of stuff. And they're an easy way to feel good. The plant information is really supportive and kind of informing our human biology to support our things like our immune system or high-functioning mental capacity. Some of the things really nourish our blood. So these are ways of like deeply nourishing the body, deeply nourishing the different organ systems, and supporting the different multidimensional layers of what it is to be powerfully and radiantly and kind of beyond effect of the surroundings healthy in a kind of a stressful modern world that we live in. And so yeah, that's the basic theme.
That's fantastic. Well, one of the things that I'm also curious about is that your company, as well as many other companies, have really come to the fore with these kinds of herbs and like the tonic herbs and superfoods. And why do you feel like now is really the time that it's happening?
Great question. So the thing is that tonic herbs and tonic herbalism are really the way of the current and future dynamically healthy people on the planet today. I mean, and this is not just a now thing. This has been a part of our history as beings on this planet for many different timelines. So we could say, like Ayurveda, there were people that have yogis and things, histories of really long life and a lot of vitality and this kind of stuff into old age. We have histories of the Taoist tonic herbalism from China, where some of the sages were said to be really long-lived, well beyond 100 years, these kinds of things. And so really today, we have a lot of environmental stress, we have a lot of like food stress, we have a lot of just like digital stress, things in the airwaves. So modern life calls us to be more adaptable and able to rise above some of these basic cellular stressors that are coming in at us from every direction, really just as a natural part of our current modern life that we're living in. So the tonic herbs today really have an effective sort of support for our modern lifestyles, in that they make our systems stronger and more robust, and they also make us more adaptable. So we can, say, go to the office and avoid really taking on the flu from somebody else that might have a bug that they picked up from their kid or something. we
Yeah,
actually, our health might be strong enough that we could not express that same ailment in our body. Also,
that's
some of the herbs
fantastic.
make us more adaptable so that we're able to handle mental stress or the stress of being on the computer or the stress of driving in LA traffic or some of these other things that are.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say about being able to protect yourself against getting a cold that somebody else brings into the office. Because at our office, as I'm sure it is at many people's offices, as soon as one person comes in sick, you just are counting the days until you get sick, and pretty much everybody in the office gets it at some point in time.
The Q pins are falling over, yeah. Or one
Yes.
kid at the daycare gets sick, and then everybody's family gets sick. So there it just goes to show you who has the flu in that office when the one person walks in. Well, everybody actually does. And so
Mm.
who expresses the flu in the office? Well, not me. Or,
Well,
not somebody who's like making a kind of proactive, like, we're going to like, okay, we know that the fall, this is when people say, oh, this is flu season, this kind of thing. Well, we're going to raise our vibration so that we can go above and beyond that and not be affected by just the currents of the things around us.
that's really interesting because there have been a couple of times when, we call it the beyond words plague has descended on the office. And what you say in terms of like everybody has the flu at that period, at that point in time, it's just who chooses to express it. There have been times when I've just been like, no, I am not getting sick. It is not going to happen. I don't care what, has happened in the past, but this time I'm just not getting sick. And I actually didn't get sick. And I mean, it took a lot of willpower and commitment on my part. But so, what are some of the kinds of herbs that maybe I or anybody in my office could take that would really help us not maybe have to be so determined?
Great question. Some of the things are things like reishi mushroom, which have been a part of our human experience for eons of time. It's probably the most long-term used food in our human history for therapeutic value, and it's probably the most researched as well. And the reishi mushroom is known for being centering and balancing both to our spirit as well as things like our immune system. So here's an example of a Sun Potion jar. We can hold it up for you. Reishi mushroom. And inside here, the person using this would find powder. There's actually 50 servings in this jar. And so you would just, it's really easy. You just, you wake up in the morning, you have a morning tea, and basically you would put in a little teaspoon, half teaspoon of the reishi mushroom into your tea and drink it. And that's a great way of, like we were talking about, making the immune system more powerful. It also actually makes it more adaptable as well, so that in the case of allergies coming in, or some people struggle with autoimmune disorders and things, overactive immune systems, this would actually be a substance where if I'm eating my reishi tea every morning, then my system is both more robust and more adaptable. So in the case of like an allergy comes in, the immune system goes overactive. Well, the reishi mushroom is going to help bring it down into a more optimal range. It's going to help monitor and control some of the histamine response and things like that associated with an overactive immune system. So
So,
there would be an example, one of the products that are herbs or foods that really helps support immune function and healthy, balanced immune response.
that's fantastic. I suffer from really bad allergies, so that I take all sorts of drugs and things to help myself with that because it just drives me crazy and I can't get through the day without sneezing my head off, it feels like. So I know that the things that I take are full of chemicals and are full of things that are nowhere near natural. So I'm fascinated to hear that this is something that's been around for a really long time, but I have, beyond my conversations with you, I've never heard of it. How did you find out about it?
Well, it's interesting. A lot of these foods really come through study of different avenues, things like essential oils from plants, like learning from people like David Crow, who's a great teacher. He has owns a company called Florocopia.
Mm.
From him, I learned about the 5-elemental Ayurvedic approach to plants and herbalism, where you look at the different elemental constitutions or properties of plants that have to do with the elements of where the plant is growing. For instance, like a sage growing in the desert. Well, that's like really hot, dry, fire element. So the sage oil contains the elemental properties that are air element. It's really has a kind of a warming heat to it. You can experience that effect on the body of those elements as you smell the sage oil. So you can just go tune in with your own body and smell the sage oil and go, oh, it feels like it affects my respiratory, my lungs. That's the air element. Oh, it feels kind of like warming on my face. Well, that's fire element. So there's one example. Another avenue came through studying Taoist internal alchemy practices. So these are things like Qigong and some kind of more subtle esoteric practices within Taoism. And that whole lineage is about cultivating qi and moving qi and life force in the body. And so we bring in an understanding of these rivers or currents of energy that flow through the body that are, some of them are physical and others are energetic. And then studying with food people. I mean, a lot of the lineage keepers or masters of tonic herbalism that are alive today want to share these understandings. So like going and studying with people like Ron Teagarden, who owns Dragon Herbs in Los Angeles. I mean, some of these other teachers. So there's a lot of information available. I guess it's just been a journey of personal evolution and interest on my own part to like seek these people out, find them. A lot of these understandings came surreptitiously in a non-linear, non-direct path. So as I'm spiraling through my 20s, running up and down the West Coast, living in Southern California in a, by all accounts, hippie community in Ojai, and going around and studying with a lot of different teachers, I learned like quite a bit of different pieces of information which have all come in to inform what is really just a practice of connection with these plants, reverence, and tuning into the feeling experience of eating them on a daily and ongoing basis. And so over the course of probably 10 years of being attracted to eating tonic herbs, superfoods, things like that, that information informed my system to be able to be of service in this way.
That's awesome. We actually just got a viewer question that I think you almost, to some extent, answered this. At what moment did you realize that this was a passion of yours?
Oh, thank you. So I mentioned this sort of non-linear, spiraling, non-direct path that I was on during my 20s. And all of these things really revolved around personal experience in the body, feeling good, having access to more like subtle realms and these kinds of things. And so during that time, I also didn't have a clear vision of what I wanted to do for my life. So what I was meditating on or focusing on, Spirit, I'm available. Show me what I can do to be of service here in this life. And that was the over and over and over again request for much of that time was, I'm available, show me what to do. And I'm listening and hanging out and living in a teepee in Ojai and walking barefoot for a couple of hours a day and going swimming in rivers there and living this kind of lifestyle. And at some point in time it became clear, okay, move to Santa Barbara, move to a new city where there's a little bit more urban environment, a little bit more activity, a little bit more business and these things happening. And when my body got physically located at this place, the land here is highly supportive landmass. So I moved here. Sun Potion created itself within a few, really 2-3 months of moving here. There was a product, it was in jars, it had a label, there was a design, there was an intentionality behind it, and it really just birthed itself, no mind, no thought, just out of a love for the plants and wanting to share them with other people. So
That's amazing. And so how long has Sun Potion been around now?
We're in our third and a half. I guess we're in our almost coming up on our fourth year.
Wow. And what has it
And
been?
usually it was just offered really through one website. We grew the company and get increasing inventories and things through doing that. Then over the last 2 years or so, we have gotten it into like health food stores and naturopathic doctors' offices and spas and these kinds of places.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Well, and just so everybody knows, I want to make sure that you people out there know that you can get 3 of the herbs, 2 of which Scott hasn't talked about yet, but one he has, the reishi mushroom. You can get that as well as the chlorella, and I'm going to try to pronounce this correctly, the mucuna.
Mucuna pruriens, yes.
That one. You can get all 3 of them for 20% off discount. So it's $88 for the 3 of them. It's a great deal. And I would love, so really quick, Scott, I know you talked about the reishi, so we know that that is great for the immune system. And what does the mucuna and the chlorella do for you?
Great question. So the Mucuna pruriens is really a unique plant. It's actually a bean, and they call it a velvet bean. This plant has levels of a chemical which is a neurotransmitter, and it's a precursor to dopamine. So it's called L-Dopa. This is a cold water organic extract of the bean, and they standardize the weight of the material at 15% L-Dopa. So what does that mean? That means that this is a powder, this is a food that you would put in your tea in the morning, and as you do that, you're giving your body, you're giving your nervous system 15% of the weight of this food, which helps support healthy levels of dopamine in the brain. And we all know that dopamine is responsible for feelings of peace and joy and contentment and general ease in our body, and is really helpful to just healthy nervous system, soothing the nervous system. The Mucuna pruriens extract is actually the #1 natural support for conditions like Parkinson's. So I'm not saying don't make that connection directly, but if you go to a naturopath and you have Parkinson's, chances are they'll direct you to this type of product because it's so soothing for the nervous system. Now, what does it do for the rest of us? It basically elevates the mood, soothes the nervous system. It generally helps you feel good, and that's why we eat it.
And what about the chlorella?
The chlorella is actually the first food that we introduced into the line, and I love this. This source of chlorella is very unique. This is a basic single-cell freshwater algae that's grown indoors, so it's super clean growing conditions, and they're using a sound frequency to actually ping and open the cell walls. So chlorella has a dense cell wall, and each of the individual cells has to be opened in order to get the nutrients out. And chlorella is a highly nutritive substance. It's actually considered a complete food, which means that you could live powerfully with chlorella and clean water. So you could just have chlorella and water, and you'd have really the nutrient building blocks that you need to nourish the body. And so we eat chlorella often first thing in the morning, and it's a way of just dropping in a lot of nutritive information into the body right off the bat. We wake up in the morning, go to the kitchen, pour a little 8-ounce glass of water with some half teaspoon or a teaspoon of the chlorella powder. And what does that do? We've started our day, we're a little dehydrated from having been sleeping, breathing through our mouth, this kind of thing. And so in the morning, we have a clear system, nothing food or digestion there. So when we drink the first 8 ounces of liquid with that chlorella in it, it absorbs directly into the bloodstream, and we're deeply nourishing some of the different organ systems. It's really clarifying to the liver. Some of these things nourishes the blood, oxygenates the blood, and so what happens then is we end up feeling more awake because we've given our blood oxygen and it's brought it up to the brain and it's helped wake us up through the support of the nutrition in the chlorella, rather than some of these other ways of waking up, which we may be familiar with, like stimulant, coffee, sends us up, we go up for a while, and then it drops us down. This is like a way to basically give the body a lot of nutrition, which in general, most of us are malnourished, even though we can have access to any kind of food we want. There's been different studies that have shown that animals and humans, the ultimate cause of death eventually is malnourishment. So we can nourish the body with something like chlorella, and it helps us have a nice start to our day.
Wow. So you can get those 3 different, they're absolutely amazing. I have one here. This is the Mucuna pruriens, and then I have some others back there as well. And so you can get all 3 of these, and it sounds like it's kind of like little jars of happiness. All together, $88, 20% off, and you can get that at www.beyondword.com/sunpotion. And be sure to send in your questions using the hashtag BWPresents, or you can use the Google Hangouts app. And please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we actually do already, Scott. We have another viewer question that I'm actually fascinated by. In 10 years, where do you hope society will be with herbs and these kinds of supplements?
Great question. I love that. So what we're doing here is we're creating the new normal for the perspective and the approach to the body, for the perspective and the approach to food. And it's not necessarily that it's new content, but it may be a new... Jars jumping off the shelf here. Maybe a little bit of a new mainstream piece, which is that we are intending to swing the mainstream to incorporate these types of foods into people's daily understanding, and this is already happening. We see this through mainstream television. You have Dr. Oz and some of these other people who are out there informing and really helping the public have a deeper understanding of some of these like really powerful tonic plants and foods that are around and they're available. And with the global market as it is today, I'm able to, myself, but other companies, we're able to like really open up the communication between countries and between growing locations to be able to access and bring in best quality ingredients from unique places from around the world. And there are certain areas that just certain foods grow better there. And so when we have access and we can get high quality ingredients from these places and then make them available to mainstream stores. And what we're doing in Southern California and the West Coast right now with Sun Potion, we're in less than 100 stores, but just in those stores, we're in some major enclaves of population: Los Angeles, Orange County, San Diego County, Portland, Seattle, some of these things. So the food is available if people are in the natural grocer or co-ops or organic grocery markets and things like that. And natural grocers are really they're the fastest growing segment of the market right now if you look across the markets of food. And so natural products, organic products, these things, people want to give their bodies foods that will support them in feeling good, in looking their best, in helping facilitate them have an enjoyable life. Mm-hmm. And so that's really what we're offering here. The Sun Potion products are, in effect, a way of supporting the body through deep nourishment, supporting the different organ systems, and actually increasing the body's ability to hold current in it. And so we're supporting some of the conduits, like the nervous system conduits and the blood channels and things, to be more powerful and to be able to hold higher levels of frequency or vibration in the body, so that we aren't just going through life doing all these nice things, having peak experiences, and then dropping down because we don't have the physical structures or nutrition or support to our nervous system or our brain or our blood or things like that to be able to hold these experiences. So we want to eat foods like tonic herbs, which make our systems able to like gradually just grow in the capacity to hold higher and higher frequency in the body. I mean, bottom line for most people, and this is really true for across demographics, countries all around the world, I mean, could be summarized by the old rock saying of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, which is sex. People want to connect with others. They want to be liked by others. They want to be seen as attractive or somebody that others want around. Drugs. People want to feel good, and they want it to feel good with the easiest, least amount of work possible. So that's a general, easy to agree on piece. And then rock and roll. People want to have fun. People want to have a nice time. And so these are all if we look at those as basic premise for human behavior, eating tonic herbs, eating foods like Sun Potion are a really accessible, easy way to do that. Cover all three of those bases just in your morning tea. So you have your morning tea, you put in a couple different types of herbs, you get your 2-3 different herb lineage pieces informing your body, you leave for the day, you're feeling great. Often I've joked that I'll go out from the house in the morning having had my morning tea with a number of different herbs in it, and I'll be in the post office and I'll look around the post office and I'll go, I'm having an experience right now of feeling really good, and I wonder if anybody else in this room is feeling like this. I hope so. I don't know that they are, but I'm sure, positive through my personal experience, that eating these foods has helped me to have those kinds of reoccurring, common, basically now, experiences of feeling good throughout my day.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to ask a really rudimentary question. And just being somebody, I've never taken any sort of thing like this, because the first thing that comes to my mind, especially, I looked in the jars and of course I smelled them and I'm kind of like, oh my goodness, how in the world does that taste? You're asking me to add this to my tea. And I know one of the things that a lot of people do is I'm ready and willing to take a pill because all I have to do is swallow it and I actually have to taste it. But how do they taste?
They're plants, and a lot of plants taste good. We like eating plants. I mean, we do that. So
True.
A lot of them taste a little bit caramely because many of them are extracts, so that there's different ways of extracting the potency of the plant into creating powder, which makes it basically easy to transport and move around and dissolve into water and things like that. But the general theme is, and many of these foods are things that are put into capsules and are offered in the supplement department in jars, in bottles, in capsules. Well, with Sun Potion, my love for these plants and for these extracts was really calling me to want to eat them directly, and I didn't want to have to take a capsule to sort of experience some delayed kind of effect from eating the capsule. And so, because a lot of what we're doing here with Sun Potion is actually helping people to be more in their body, more in the experience of the physicality of their body. So there's a certain physical experience that is associated with when I open this jar and I put this in my tea and I drink it and I taste it and I can smell it and I have there's different senses that are being activated by the information in the jar. And so we give people the opportunity to use these plants as ingredients in foods that they're already eating as a means for them to have a more direct experience and relationship of that individual plant, of the unique kind of properties of what it offers and how it affects the body. And I find in my personal experience and through talking to customers and through talking to staff and some of these other core supporters of the brand who have been really eating these foods a lot as well. It's not just my personal experience. But if we can get somebody to say take on a jar of Chlorella and just commit to a compliance protocol of going, I'm going to eat this chlorella every day, first thing when I wake up in the morning. I'm going to take my teaspoon of chlorella, put it in the 8 ounces of water, drink that. By the end of this jar, so there's 55 servings in here, by the end of the month and a half or so that the person is eating this, almost unanimously, I mean, we get so much positive feedback. People have a direct experience and a relationship with this plant and what it feels like in their body to eat this thing. And they have an association of, oh, I wake up, I put that green thing in my water and I drink it and it helps me feel good. I mean, on a very basic building block kind of a depiction, that's what's happening. And so those are reasons why.
Why not a pill? I get that. I completely get that now. One of the things that I'm super curious about is that because they're plants, my brother studies tea. I shared this with you before we got on the air, but he studies tea, and one of the things that he always tells me is that he doesn't know how the tea is going to taste for me. He doesn't know what kind of experience I'm going to have with the tea because it's my own personal experience. And I'm just curious if that kind of works in the same way with these foods, if it's really a customized experience for each person.
Absolutely. And what a beautiful description of tea, because it's true. These are personal experiences that are held in our physicality as we drink the tea, as we have the hot tea, these kind of things. And so the effects that we have on our body, although we might be able to mark thematic, like overarching pieces that we could say, it's pretty likely you're going to have like these sort of supportive effects show up in your body as you ingest this thing over time. But on a personal level, how does it feel? How does it affect? First of all, this is a main part of why we created Sun Potion, or why I was interested in creating Sun Potion, is that helping people increase their personal discernment about what to put in their body. And so if they're in a situation where they're learning to feel and experience the relationship between eating this thing every day and feeling a certain way, that is a far cry from like going into a convenience store, getting 2 hot dogs and a big gulp, and like downing that jazz while you're driving on the freeway to work and on your lunch break in the afternoon. Yeah. I mean, there's like a gap in the experience of the body when we're feeding ourselves that way. And so a big part of this is like nourishing the body in ways that like allow us to tune into more subtle feelings and experience in our personal physicality, so that we can then have an increasing level of discernment about the types of information through the food, through the surroundings, through the language, through the different multidimensional inputs that we put into our body. Is that too out there?
No, it actually makes complete sense. We had last week on our show, we had Dr. Patricia, and she was talking about how kids relate to their food and how she encourages us to really create that connection between what we're putting in our body and then how our body feels. And personally, I mean, in my lifetime, I've eaten all sorts of really, really horrible things. And I've been able to do that because I don't make the connection between, oh, see, this ingredient list on this box is actually what's going into my body. And I've disconnected myself from that so that I don't, just so I can eat the thing, I guess, in the end. And so when you talk about food being information for my body, almost like my body has to process this information in order to continue to be at its best, that it's a very interesting and very different way of looking at food.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you for that. That's fascinating. And I also, one of the things that we were talking about right before we got on the air was just in general how you've created the culture of Sun Potion, and you did mention the fact that it kind of came about bit by bit and you didn't intentionally pull pieces in or anything like that. But how has it been for you being an entrepreneur and creating a whole new company of things that some people, might not get.
This has been a highly enjoyable evolution on a personal level and on a service level and on a connection with other people level. And it's been really a true joy to be able to learn these things as they come along. I started the company with no previous understanding or background in business, other than that, while my father was had owned his own dental practice, so he had sort of a relationship to business that I heard about while I was growing up. But on a personal level, didn't take any business classes, didn't have that in my proper formal training background. And so stewarding Sun Potion as a thing, as a company, and as a avenue to do work has been really dependent highly on mentors and learning and taking classwork and working with local organizations like SCORE. There's an we learn all these things. There's in Santa Barbara, and I'm sure it's other places as well, there's organizations like this group called SCORE, Southern California Organization of Retired Entrepreneurs. So you get a bunch of bankers and CEOs and previous business owners who are in their 60s and who are retired, but who love business and who love to kind of be in the mix and the excitement of, oh, this is what you do to get a killer marketing campaign kicked off, or this is how you got to these are the questions your accountant or your bookkeeper or your office manager really needs to be able to answer, or you need to watch out for these tax sort of things that can come up. And so it's a means of informing the business with a whole bunch of shortcuts from other people who know a lot more than I do about how to operate business and stuff. And so really the growth of Sun Potion as a business has been this theme of responding to questions and responding to needs that come up just as a natural part of doing the work that we're doing.
Well, and just in hearing you talk and in the couple of conversations you and I have had, the thing that just comes through so strongly is your passion and your commitment to people and having them really understand how these kinds of these foods can incorporate into their daily life to make them happier, to make them healthier. And that's just it's a great place to stand. And as you talk about the mentors that you brought in, it seems like bringing in other people who know more than you do in other areas has really allowed you to stay in that passion and stay in that commitment to people.
Absolutely. I think it's really important. We have to have these friends or helpers that show up and have a little bit of a different viewpoint or a little bit of an overview, or have already climbed the trail and can look back and go, yeah, it's all right, you can do it, here's the way, I'll encourage you. And it's great to have these people who have levels of spiritual development and levels of business accomplishment and levels of personal effectiveness in their own lives that they're able to share and transmit to me. And then I personally, as a relationship thing, love sharing those things with other people. And so we've had been able to have some experiences of actively transmitting some of those lessons to other friends. And so it's just another spiraling link in the chain of ever-expanding support and connectivity and flow-through. And so as I become a bigger conduit for materials and a bigger conduit of understanding of how to steward the project, I'm also able to provide perspective to some other friends and people as they're going along in their trajectory, which is really enjoyable.
That's fantastic. Well, and I just want to pause for a second and remind everyone that they can get 3 of the supplements that we've been talking about. The Mucuna pruriens. Did I pronounce it right?
Absolutely, you did.
Yes. So the Mucuna pruriens, the Chlorella, and then also the Reishi mushroom. You can get all 3 of those supplements. And again, like Scott said, it's a 55-day supply in each jar. So all of those 3 for $88, which is a 20% discount. And you can get that at www.beyondword.com/sunpotion. And please be sure to submit your questions in the Google Hangouts app, and you can use the hashtag BWPresents. And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And Scott, we have two more questions. So from viewers, one of them is going along the lines of what we were talking about. What's the biggest lesson you've learned in starting a business?
Oh, it's just a service project, fun experience. I mean, the biggest thing is to have a good time. The next biggest thing is to be effective. The next biggest thing, I don't know. But it really helps to just do things that kind of turn me on and excite me and get me activated. And if I just keep doing that, I don't have to think. There's no mental association or ego association to these different aspects of the business, because there's nothing to figure out. Through like just eating a whole bunch of herbs that I love and have a relationship with, and then through doing like the next thing that's asked of me and of the company, we've been able to just really have a supportive kind of trajectory where we've been able to have a good time. There's not a lot of like figuring out or mental strain or needing to know how to do these things. Life as it happens, if we're following like the current of our gifts and of our service, then there is no figuring it out. There is no like how to do these things. It really just happens naturally, and it happens as a joy, and it's contagious. I mean, the more excited we get about, or the more excited I personally get about the foods and about the effects that they've had on my life, and then sharing some of the effects that they've had with other people, and just the enjoyment of the whole project, people want to participate and experience that for themselves. It's really a natural piece. And so I've seen that to be the case with other people whom I respect and admire and look to for feedback, and it seems like a natural piece. Find what we enjoy, figure out a way to like be of service to that thing and to people through that thing, and then just like keep doing the next right action, and it all unfolds quickly. Quicker than we think, maybe sometimes.
I love what you said. Even when I call it a business, you renamed it a service project. And it's very interesting. So many people go into that business mentality, and business has all of these rules or this certain way of how it should be. And then just as soon as you shift it to that perspective of a service project, it seems like there's more room to play, there's more room to explore and to see how you can, in fact, as you say, be of service to the herbs, be of service to the people, be of service to your employees as well.
Well, this is really could be described in different ways as like a feminine approach to business, or a spiral approach, or a new business, or there's like cliche words that we can associate, or spiritual business, or whatever the thing is. But really it's like, yeah, it's a non-linear approach. And the old model, the previous model of competition and market share and marketing and win, dominate, that kind of thing is all linear, is all mind, is actually all mental body reflection onto that thing you call business. And it's just not a way that has felt natural to me, and is like, also I've just through witness, we can see it when I have friends who are like linear, male, 3D approach to life and output sort of people, and then watching them as we've gone over the last couple of years through like a lot of transformation as a planet, as a group of people, as individuals, as a community, as society, all these things. There's been times where there's opportunities to change, to be more adaptable, to like get out of the mental body and drop into the heart, physical experience, non-judgmental, centered, like non-dual, non-linear approach to things. And when people choose that, they find a freedom in that. And then sometimes if people are really entrenched in the other way and they don't allow themselves to become more adaptable, things break. I mean, how many countless like 50 to 60-year-old men are having heart attacks and dying because they are
Mm.
not like willing to drop from their mental body association to the world around them into a
Mm.
more adaptable, yin, soft, you know, not like non-judgmental experience of things. There's a
Mm.
lot.
That's very interesting. It's a very interesting perspective on because I've felt that change as well. I've not been able to put it in as coherent of terms as you have, but I've definitely felt that shift from one way of doing business to this other way of really serving people. So it's wonderful to see that you've taken that into practice and that you've created such a robust business with it.
Thank you. And you know, the other piece of this too is this collaboration model, which is that
Mm.
there's like, even if I were to look at my specific interest place, which is superfoods, which is tonic herbalism, which is like herb extract products that end up going in the vitamin department at a health food store, some people could look at that and go, wow, that's like a really kind of a niche thing. That's like a really sort of a narrow business that you're in. How is it
Mm.
then that you're able to have like most of my friends are food people. Most of my friends, my fiance, all like social connections, a lot of the people whom I'm relating to and whom I celebrate and whom celebrate what we're doing, and we actively and intentionally support one another and get people interested in what other people are doing. That's all collaboration model. It's
Mm.
creativity, it's artistry. Literally every single thing in the health food store, a conventional health food store, could be totally redesigned and remodeled and redone. So in the food line, there is infinite room for friends to be participating, to be involved, to be having their own companies, to be doing their own thing.
Mm.
And so we see that as like an encouraging environment to like have a more inclusive, more celebrating, more, you know, the more that I put myself out as being available to work and share with people, the more that flows through and the more that everybody gets to celebrate and be a part of the flow.
That's wonderful. I one of the other thank you for that, and also just to bring it back to the food more, because we do have another viewer question based on the superfood is some of this can sound, so all of the instructions and all of the information you've given us can sound overwhelming for people who've never been exposed to these products, herbs, foods, etc. What's a good first step for people to learn about them?
Excellent question. So a couple pieces. One is you could really, this little package that we've created with Beyond Words is a basic introduction where if an individual said, oh, I want to make a change in my life, or I want to take some action to do something different, I want to start giving my body some of this different information that was talked about, or have my own personal physical experience of feeling good in that way. These are
Mm-hmm.
three foods that if anybody took them, they would be supportive, they would be nourishing, they would help their body be more adaptable, they'd be supportive to their nervous system, supportive to their general overall like sense of balance and centering. And so that would be a great place to start. I mean, just order the 3-pack from the Beyond Words website, and that would be a simple way to kind of introduce yourself to the foods and the experience of eating them. And then another option is to go to our website, which is sunpotion.com, and learn about each of the foods, because on the website there's going to be like a page or two about each of the herbs. So you could go there to like learn and read more. We have a blog portion of the website which is available there. We also, the address to the blog is sunpotionpress.com. There's kind of a, if you're interested in seeing some like lifestyle pieces of how much fun we're having while doing this project, you could look at our Instagram account, which is #sunpotion or @sunpotion on Instagram. And those would all be places which you could go to. And the thing is look on our website, get an idea of what's there, But you don't have to learn about what each of the herbs do just from there. There's like 5 Google searches deep, and you can learn anything about anything. So you can learn a lot about Mucuna pruriens on the web. You can learn a lot about some of these other things on the web. Basic theme with Sun Potion is that we are definitely high priority on highest available quality, and that's like anywhere on the planet. We're finding like the best quality available in the market today. So that piece, and just cleanliness of the product. So we really scrutinize and test and double test and triple test each material batch that comes in, so you know that you're getting clean material. And yeah, and then we put it together in a way that's like a comprehensive, sort of inclusive system that somebody could hypothetically, and we have people that do this, they go, oh, I don't know anything about what you're doing, but I want to like get into it. And I don't mind putting together a few $100s to do it. So what they've done is they'll go, and we encourage people, just go on the website, order one of everything. What will arrive to you is a basic like best ever alchemical food package that you could really like, the best tonic bars in the world, the best herbalists in the world, the best like the masters of tonic herbalism from different lineages. It would be quite a package to put together. So I mean, even like 20 years ago, the line that we've created, there are masters that didn't have access to some of these different herbs, just because the extracts, some of the processes weren't developed yet. Others that it was just that there was material that was hard to get, so you might know about it, but you wouldn't necessarily have a reliable way of procuring it. And so world market today makes it available for us. You know, you mentioned several times these 3 jars, and there are some numbers associated with them. And I wanted just to tell people that the retail value of the 3, when added up, was 111 grams, or $111. And so we went, oh, that's like all through the whole brand. So there's actually 111 grams in many of our products' jars. And so there's like a number sequence that's happening there. We went, oh, we want to give people a good deal, so let's give them 22% off. Boom, so 22% off. What's that? $88. So anyway, these are like themes that happen all the time when we're doing business and when we're doing things, because the numbers of the structures of things are really like reflections of alignments that are happening. And so,
well, and I know in the Chinese culture, eight is a very lucky number. So there's that too.
Double 8. They like double happiness, double joy, double blessings, double wealth. So double 8s.
Absolutely. Well, and just to mention it one more time for people who are listening and are curious about what Scott's been talking about in terms of the package that we're offering, it's the Mucuna pruriens, the Chlorella, and then also the Reishi mushroom. All 3 of them, as he said, originally $111, but with a 22% discount, it's $88. And you can go on our site and you can get that right now at www.beyondword.com/Sun Potion. Be sure to pick that up, because I'm very excited because we have 3 jars here in our office, and just hearing you talk about it, hearing your passion for it, and also having in the back of my mind my brother and then also my sister-in-law who is studying Chinese medicine, I'm very surrounded by the world of the very natural remedies. And I know that right now we are in a world that automatically looks to science, looks to chemicals to solve things. So either that's the extremely chemicalized food that makes us feel better, or the extremely chemicalized drugs that solve a particular ailment that we feel. And I know we've talked about this several times on this show, but it's really going to the source of things. So you're not treating you're not treating one expression of the ailment. You're treating the heart of it. You're treating your body and having it be as powerful as it can be.
And beyond that, we're not even treating the body. We're just supporting the body. We're encouraging the body, giving the plant information from nature, which the body understands, because plants have a biology. We have a biology. Those biologies talk to one another. The challenge is that many plants experience in nature are challenges on, like, to a plant's immune system, are things that affect our immune system too. And so when we work with plant medicine or not plant medicine, but just plants, herb extracts and things, we're getting information from that evolutionary intelligence from the plant that can be really supportive. In a plant, there's thousands of cofactors and subtle chemical relationships between the parts of the molecular sort of structures of some of these chemicals and things. And if we look in science or we look in medical, we'll find isolated chemicals that are put together where it's just like that one thing. So there's not all the like subtle connections between the other parts of that material. And so it's as if we're taking information that our body doesn't understand what to do with because it doesn't have the full web of biology that our system might want in order to recognize, acknowledge, and receive the information from that substance. So
that's so fascinating. And it is true. It's the one natural thing interacting with another natural thing, then they're going to do what they were built to do. And it's going to be, I just keep thinking I have, for some reason around me, there's been a lot of people who've either had cancer or have had really big illnesses and things like that. And it's really had me thinking, it's kind of like, what is going on? Like, what is happening right now? And I just, I look at a lot of the things that are taking us away from our natural way of being, like just what is there for us to do if all of the grocery stores and all of the streets and the infrastructure just disappeared and we were just to be out living in nature. What would that be like? Who would we be? What would we be doing? And my guess is maybe some of these superfoods would show up. Maybe, I don't know. It's an interesting thing for me to think about.
Absolutely. Yeah, nature provides. She's everywhere. Yeah. She's all around. So, and it's interesting, we could talk about a brief little story, which is that nature is providing all the time everywhere. So even in downtown urban Skid Row, Los Angeles, there's dandelions that are growing there on the curb. What are dandelions good for? They detox the liver. They are deeply nourishing. They're like highly supportive food that is nature, and she's showing up in Skid Row and everywhere else in between, in our backyard, in our, like, along the sidewalk, in the ditch, by the road. She's everywhere. And nature, you were talking about this dissolving of structures that we have come to accept as just normal. These kind of natural, unnatural things. And I think if those things went away, what would be left is just that we would have we would actually start noticing some of the supportive ways that nature shows up around us, and then we might start to have different relationship with that. And so that's kind of what we're offering. That is what we're offering as a part of it through Sun Potion, is just a way for people to start relating more deeply to themselves, connecting more with the plants, feeling the supportive information piece from the plant biology, and then letting it influence our life. It's great. I personally enjoy and appreciate feeling good. I personally enjoy and appreciate the level of mental acuity and sensitivity and fortitude that I receive through eating this way and eating these plants and connecting with them. So I invite your listeners and yourself and anyone else that's out there and involved or available to it to start considering, this is a way of working with. It's not a fad. It's not a system necessarily. This is just preventative, nurturing, deeply supporting our organ systems, our body, our blood, our brains, our longevity, our powerful dynamic health, all made with love.
I can tell that. Well, Scott, thank you so much for being on the show. We are at our hour, and I just want to mention one more time for everyone, if you want to go on and discover more about these herbs, go to Scott's website, go to the Sun Potion website, sunpotion.com, and you can also, right there, and you can also get those 3 herbs together, that great starter pack that Scott was talking about with the Chlorella, the Mucuna pruriens, and the reishi mushroom, all for the 22% off at $88. And you can go to www.beyondword.com/sunpotion to get that. Scott, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh, thank you so much as well. We want you to feel amazing. Go for it.
I totally get that. Well, and so for everyone else, also next week, we're going to have David Howitt. He is the author of Heed Your Call, Integrating Myth, Science, Spirituality, and Business. And he's going to come on and talk about how spirituality and business can work together to not only create a stronger business, as we've kind of been hearing here with Scott, and that it can help your bottom line, it can help your employees feel fulfilled, it can do all of these things. So it's going to be a really interesting conversation. So be sure to listen in, same time, same place next week. Thank you so much.